Yes. Let's see. Booting up a little bit of a late stream here for literally anybody in America. Um, but we're not an American centric channel, even though I do live in America. But yeah, it's a little late. We're gonna do a little quick streamy stream. Um, I recognize I have not streamed in like 2 weeks. It is because I'm a big sleepy. But yeah, I hope everybody's doing good this fine evening or whenever you're listening to this. Probably whenever you're about to go to sleep. Um, I'm gonna let the ads roll while or whatever the ads are gonna start in like a minute. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna let that happen. I'm just gonna talk over my loading stream screen. Um, and yeah, I don't expect a lot of people to come, but I kind of wanted to try this out, and I'll explain that in a moment. But for now, I wanted to thank I got some recent new followers, and I don't know if I've really thanked them. So let's start off with Storm Column Arts. Thank you so much for following. Apparently, we used to go to school together, and I don't think I've seen you since school. So I apologize. I didn't recognize you were also a VTuber. Very cool person. Does good VTuber stuff. Can texture, unlike myself. And then Super Sucko 80. I hope I didn't say a swear in some other language. But thank you for the follow. And then Morphine. Thank you so much for the follow. The triple M's kind of remind me of M&M's, I'm not gonna lie. And then Knight and Wolf. Thank you so much for the follow. And lastly, Naria Nexus. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate every single one of you. I could not be here without you all. I quite enjoy streaming to other people, so I will also take this time to thank my 2 subscribers. Be it only for not having ads or not. Thank you. I appreciate all of you. It's been a hot minute since I rolled up a stream just by myself. It's been an interesting new year for me. I do feel like I'm doing a good job on that. With my New Year's resolution, I was thinking about doing more collab streams, and so far, really kicking off with a start. I've been thinking about doing like videos on YouTube. It's the thought that counts. I've been really busy at work though. So yeah, welcome one and all to this stream. It's a quite a late stream, so I don't expect many folks to show up. Oh wait, hold on a second. I goofed. Oh wait, hold on. I goofed again. Wait, pretend. Aha! Yeah, I almost forgot. So yeah, but I've been thinking about this, and I've had quite a few people say that I have a very good like podcasty voice, or like they like to listen to me talk when they're going to sleep, which I feel very flattered about. So I think what really was the nail in the coffin was I was streaming, I think, on either Fruitsy or Noodle's channel with them, and one of their followers were like, "You have a very good podcast voice," and I was like, "All right, this isn't one of my followers trying to flatter me here." So I was like, all right, we gotta do something that really is just me talking. So I've always also joked about doing ASMR, and I don't think I'm quite at the point where I want to whisper into a microphone. But I also kind of wanted to do a thing where I kind of just sit here and like talk about something that's like super calming and like, you know, it doesn't it's very chill and casual. And well, I was thinking about it. I was like, well, okay, let's just start off with like a chill topic. And for me, I was like, what's something I can ramble about for a little bit? And I was like, oh, well, let's just have a sleepy time stream, you know, just something to quietly for people to talk, to listen to as you fall asleep. I think this is going to be like an hour-ish. It depends on how much I could talk. Um, but yeah, I was thinking I'm gonna talk about my pets. A nice, comforting, warm feeling to some people. You know, you got your pets. You love them more probably than your siblings if you have any. Um, and since it's a sleepy time stream, I'm pretend I'm lying down in bed. I guess next to you, if that makes you feel better. I was just talking to one of my friends about like platonically like chilling with your friends, and I think I recognize in the American culture it's not really socially acceptable to like hang out unless it's like girls in like hang out in the bed and like I don't know, hold each other's hands or like lean your head against each other. Um, I don't really know where I'm going with this, but I think we should be more affectionate towards our friends. That's the TLDR. But yeah, I guess before we get into sleepy time stories about my pets, I guess you might be wondering why I haven't been doing any personal streams, and it's because holy shit, am I tired. Dyna's always tired, and the doctors aren't diagnosing fast enough, is the TLDR. And also, I also have a lot of work. Work is tiring. There's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, that's the short TLDR. I don't know, maybe in another more upbeat stream, I'll explain further. But for now, I kind of just I want something for people to relax to, you know? I hope you all can hear my voice. I kind of like amped up everything as much as I could and like yoinked down the audio on YouTube's. So yeah. But so yeah, my pets. I guess to preface this, like I wasn't allowed to have a pet until gosh, I think I was when did I get my hamster? I think I got a hamster in sometime in elementary school. So that was kind of like my first mammalian pet, so to speak. I had, I guess if you want to consider like fish things, I had trilobites, if you guys know what those are. Those are like those weird like 90s pets that also got advertised of like you can grow sea monkeys or like praying mantises or like butterflies, and I wanted trilobites. And that was because I kind of liked how they looked like those ancient fossils, and that's how they were advertised to you. And I took that hook, line, and sinker. Those gosh darn little weird crustaceans. I love them. They swim around. They look so cool, and they eat those little pellets. You know, it was not the greatest pet, I will admit, because they kind of just swim around and you stare at them. They're kind of cool. I mean, they have multiple limbs and they have that like shell, but they're kind of a boring pet. So it took a lot of begging, but like, I love animals. I don't know if I've exaggerated this enough on other streams, but I love animals. I like. I wanted I wanted to be a vet at one point, but then I realized I'm like I can't take it. It's too sad. I would be so sad if like an animal died in my care, and it's just the emotional toil on me. Just could not do it. But I kept asking my parents, can I have a dog? Like, I think my babysitter had this really cute golden. I believe her name was Sandy. And then like I had neighbors with dogs. When I lived in Boston, this feels like kind of like the Wild West of like neighborhoods in a weird way. Of like one of my neighbors, he kind of just let his also golden retriever just walk around the neighborhood by herself, and she would go to other people to go to neighbors' doors and wait for treats. Um, and I don't know why my parents did this, but they bought us milk bones so we could feed Doggo. I think her name might have been Goldie or something. I can't quite remember. And she would just sit at your front door and wait, and then you could give her a bone, and then you pet her, and then she walks away to the next house. It was super cute. I really liked it. So yeah, I always really wanted a doggy. So when we moved to Ohio, I was like, yeah, I can get a dog. And my parents were like, no, you're not responsible enough, which was 200% correct, but that doesn't stop young Dyna from wanting a dog. And then I became friends with a classmate who had, I think, hamsters at the time. Him and his sister had hamsters. And then, I'd play with him and his hamsters, and he'd teach me all about these hamsters. And now I was like, hey, look, parents, hamster, smaller than Doggo, can care for. And I don't remember, but I think it was for one of my birthdays. I got a Siberian dwarf hamster. So if you don't know, hamsters kind of come in basically two sizes of what you can buy at like a pet store or like get at a breeder, I guess. So like you got the normal size hamster that's like, I'm trying to think of an equivalent size. Like, it's not like the size of, it's smaller than a banana. What is a common fruit size? If you've ever seen like a pear, like one of the pear-shaped pears, not like the apple-shaped pears. I'd say they're like hand size. They're smaller than a chinchilla. They're bigger than like a little budgie. But they're like, you kind of hold them in your hands, and like, you just hold them. So there's those size hamsters, and then dwarf hamsters are like little baby boys. They're like, I think they're less than 6 inches. Definitely smaller than that, but so they're just little guys. They kind of remind you, they're like a little bit bigger than I think mice. So I got this little dwarf hamster, and Siberian dwarf hamsters, they have a little stripe down their back. So they're mostly kind of like this brownish gray and white, and then on their back they have a slightly darker brown stripe. So in my presumably single digits age, decided my hamster's name was going to be Cinnamon Stripe. Yeah, I was very creative with my names. We just called her Cinnamon, and she was a silly little hamster. She would run on the wheel at like 2 a.m., which I think is just a hamster thing. She would not stand on your hands without biting them, so we always wore gloves. And she had this funny way of sleeping where, like, if she got really deep into sleep, she would just like roll upside down, which was kind of weird. Or like, if her little hutch, we got her little like hut thing to sleep in, she would kind of just like mush her face against the glass because we had her in a aquarium. I think in hindsight, like I've seen content recently about how to actually take care of hamsters, and apparently like a tiny little hamster cage that they usually recommend is to have them in is too small. And I feel kind of bad now because I was like, man, Cinnamon probably would have been happier if I gave her like a whole jungle gym, but like, I was like single digits or something, or like a tween. You don't know these kind of things, so she lived a good old hamster life. And I don't remember how long I had her, but she did eventually pass away, and it was very sad. Yeah, I remember, I think one day I woke up and my brother was like, yo, Cinnamon doesn't look too good. And she was like, I don't quite know what was going on. It kind of looked like she was having some issues breathing. I don't really know. I mean, they're so small, it's hard to diagnose what's going on with them. Um, but I was holding her in my hands, and I was kind of upset. So my parents, being the religious parents they are, my dad, like, I guess prayed over the hamster. I mean, it kind of made me feel better. I think it kind of disagree or not agree with religion. I think in that moment it was okay, and I swear, my tiny little hamster died in my hands, which might not be appropriate for a chill stream, but I just kind of feel like that was a particularly impactful moment in my life. Yeah, it was sad. You know, it was my first little hamster. When you have a little creature in your care, you want to make sure they had the best life possible. And at that last moment, you're like, I really hope I treated you well and you had a good life. But yeah, so we got a little nice box for her. We buried her in my backyard. Yeah, I hope Cinnamon had a good life. So for the longest time, I didn't get another pet. I think through I think end of elementary and into middle school, I didn't have a pet. I don't really think I was all really. I was pretty upset about Cinnamon. I didn't want to experience that again. But then, I think high school, I don't know, I kind of just was like nagging my parents about getting a dog again. I kept saying no. I'm pretty sure that's can be some relatable to some people. And we were at, I think, some sort of arts fair or something in my town. And so one of the local animal shelters was by with some of their adoptees of, like, I think some cats and some dogs. And there was this dog. I think his name was Benji. He was like a really, like, kind of puppy black lab, and he was really exciting. He's like, oh, hello humans, I would like to play with you. And somehow, I don't know what happened behind closed doors, but my parents were like, we can get a dog. Let's go look at this animal shelter and look at these dogs. So we go there, and we go see Benji again. And then it was really nice because this animal shelter was next to a park. So my parent, I think it was my dad, he gave them his driver's license, and then, like, we took him out for, like, a short little walk. And he was so gosh dang excited to be out on a walk with these new humans. But he was like a puppy lab. That boy had energy. And then we get back to the shelter, and we're like, I don't think we can handle this dog. Labs are typically good family pets, and it's my parents, my brother, and myself. So it's like the whatever the nuclear family. We even lived in the Midwest. We just didn't have the white picket fence. But so we're like, okay, no. So we like look at some other dogs, and then we're like, okay. I think there was this kind of, like, I think they called her like a Chihuahua mix or something, but my mom didn't want a Chihuahua because they're, like, yappy and stuff. So, like, I tried to convince her, and so I think it was just the first time we went, it was my dad and myself and maybe my brother. So my mom didn't come along. So Benji was out of the question. But then this other little Chihuahua, we're like, oh, she's kind of cute, she's kind of quiet. And I was like, oh, we could deal with her. My mom's like, no, no, it's too small. And I'm like, okay, Mom, come on, let's just go there, and then you'll try it. And then we go there with my mom, and they're like, oh, small doggo got kennel cough. You can't see her. And we're like, oh, now what? So we literally just kind of, like, looked around, and we're like, oh, there's this kind of like this little like little silly little white and brown dog. Like, yeah, she's kind of cute. And then we play with her a little bit. I don't think we took her home that day. Um, but we thought about it. We looked at her profile on their website. Excuse me. And her name, my dog's name, was Maxie at the time. I think apparently they just kind of throw names at animal shelter animals and just to give them a name if they don't have one already, which is kind of funny. They can't. It's not like, oh, she came with this or something. It's just like they gave her this name. But so we look at her and we're like, okay, she's like a lab mix or something on whatever paper. So then we go there a second time. Like on their website, they're like, oh, we need to do like a house visit or whatever. And we're like, okay. So we kind of like prepared the house and we're like gonna go there and say, yes, we would like this dog. And we go there and we're like, we would like this dog. And they're like, okay. And we're like, you don't need a house visit? And they're like, no, we don't have enough volunteers, and you guys seem like a good family. And you're like, that's a questionable way to give someone a living creature, but okay. And they're like, oh yeah, and well, you could take her home right now. We're like, huh? And they're like, yeah, we can't hold her for her, so if someone, like, if you can't take her today, we can't hold her, and if someone comes tomorrow before you, we're gonna adopt her out. And we're like, oh shit, okay. So I think right after we just go buy pet supply, like all these doggo supplies, and then the next day we come back for her, and then we adopt my little doggo. And I was in charge of finding the names because it was supposed to be my dog. And I was very much a weeb at the time. So there was, I think it's literally called JapaneseNames.com or something. I don't know. I was really into making like original characters, and I just used like name generators essentially to find Japanese-ish names. And goddamn, was I a weeb. Anyway, so I picked out some names from this website. And then I was like, okay, Mom, because apparently she wanted to say in the name. I was like, out of these names, what do you like? And then she was like, oh, Emiko sounds nice. Because based on this website, so take it with a grain of salt, Emi means blessing, and then you add ko at the end for child. So Maxie becomes blessing child, which is both the most Asian name and also like most religious name you could possibly think of for a dog. I guess besides naming it like Jesus or something, or like Jesus. So yeah, we get the name for the dog, and then we go back the next day and we're like, oh yeah, so we're back. We would like to adopt this dog. And they're like, yeah, she's still here. We're like, we were kind of concerned of like, will she respond to a new name, because she had this name already. And they're like, oh no, that's just a name we gave her. She's young enough. She'll pick up on the name. You're like, as new dog owners, we're like, what? What? And then they kind of give us her history. So my dog, I guess maybe a little bit of context about Ohio. So there's like, I think in like most states, there's like the suburban areas, there's like the cities, and then there's like the rural areas, right? In the rural areas of Ohio, there still tends to be some puppy mills. I don't know these days if like that's gone down, but I do know at that time there was like puppy mills. So she was actually a transfer from a different county shelter. So the shelter we were going to is a no-kill shelter, which I highly recommend you adopt from, because I don't feel very great about kill shelters. But that's a different moral story we can discuss. But she was from another county, and I believe the county that she was from is known to have puppy mills. So beyond that, we really don't know anything about her. And they're like, oh, she's probably like about 2 years old or something. It's like, well, great. Don't know how old my gosh darn dog is, but we'll take it. um, so, and she kind of looks like a mutt. So maybe she's not from a puppy mill. She could have just been like a street dog or something. And she has this, so yeah. So like, we do all the adoption stuff. We get a picture with her for their Facebook, and it's really funny because it's just my family smiling at the camera, and then dog absolutely refuses to look at said camera. So I remember, we get her home, and we let her go in the house. And the first thing she does is just jump on one of our couches, and she seemed so gosh dang happy. I guess for further context, apparently she was adopted out to a young family with like a toddler or something, and then the next day they brought her back because she nipped at the toddler. So we're like, oh shoot, so she can't really be around children. So we have her and stuff, and then I think when in the first couple of days we had her, we kind of realized like her tail isn't straight. Like, how do I describe this without showing you? My dog, she has like, there's like basically two parts to it. There's the straight, and then there's like this kink, and then the latter half of her tail just sticks up. You can quite literally make a 90-degree angle with her tail, and it does not bother her. We've been to 2 vets, and we've had both of them look at it, and based on how it feels and how she reacts to it, there's a high probability that she was just born with a right-angled tail for some reason, which is one of the strangest birth defects I've ever seen. Like, it doesn't hurt her at all. You can wiggle it. She doesn't seem like to be in pain or really notice it. Like, she's just wagging her tail. So, like I said, like, on her papers, she was a lab mix. But then the shelter honestly told us that they kind of just look at the dog and take a hot guess. And I also suspect that they called her a lab mix because there are a lot of like apartment complexes that don't allow certain breeds. So if she's a mutt and you can kind of get away with saying she's something else, you do that. I don't know if I condone the practice necessarily, but I certainly think more doggos in happy homes, the better. So like for a while we're like, she doesn't look like a lab like at all. And for the longest time we were thinking maybe she's some sort of like pit bull mix with a lab, because she kind of has that like pit bull face, more like the eyebrows and like the snout kind of looking. But then I guess a few years back or something, we had some new neighbors move in who had beagles, and I guess my brother and my dad were walking her one day, and then the neighbors walked by, and they're like, oh yeah, no, we've been raising beagles since like for 15 years. The way she walks from a distance, 200% a beagle. So that's the day when we discovered my dog is probably closer to a beagle mix than anything. If you look up on the internet beagle mix, basically my dog. I think specifically a beagle lab mix, basically my dog. Especially little white mittens. She got little mitten paws. She's stinky like a beagle. Wednesday, 12 p.m. in Ohio is when they do tornado drill sounds, and boy will she tell you that it's a tornado drill. Also, my dad conditioned her like to howl during tornado sirens, like actively praised her. I don't think he gave her any treats because he said he will not feed her. Everyone else in the house does. But yeah, so if you guys don't know, I think it's I think the end of February. I think maybe like February. I can't remember what day, but Ohio actually had some bad tornadoes. And they were kind of close to where my parents live currently. And my mother texted me this morning saying that there was like 5 tornadoes and like 4 of them touched down nearby to them. And at like 5 a.m. or something, they wake up to tornado sirens and my gosh darn dog howling. Because she has been conditioned by my father to wake up everybody in the house and presumably all of our neighbors to the sound of tornado sirens. And then they had to all go down into the basement. So everyone but my dog lost sleep. But she was a very good girl for waking everybody up, even though I'm fairly certain everyone would have been up anyway. So yeah, I guess I might have mentioned it on different streams, but I no longer live with my dog. When I went to college, I was thinking about taking her with me after college, but I got her in high school freshman year. She was already 2 years old, so she's getting kind of old, and she's basically a very grumpy old girl these days. She doesn't. My current living situation, I don't think she would be happy in, and I also didn't feel like it was in her best interest to drive her across country just to be with me. So unfortunately and sadly, I had to leave her with my parents. But for a while, they were empty nesters because my brother and I were both gone to do other adult things. So I think it kind of helped them feel less empty nested. And now my brother and my dad usually walk her. She was originally meant to have the whole family go on walks, but that's not something necessarily that my mom or I will do, apparently. So it was rough. I'm gonna say it was rough in high school. It was hard for me to really feel like I wanted to do things. My mom has little excuse these days, I think. But yeah, so she just gets to live out her life as a happy doggo in Ohio, howling at sirens here and there and everywhere. And yeah, she's happy. She gets pets by my mom in the evening. She gets 2 walks a day. My brother currently lives at home, and he goes out walking with my dad and the dog. She gets all the treats and love. My parents host a Bible study, and she's gotten really close to a few of the people who go there, and she's very happy to see them. So yeah, she's got a good doggo life, and I might go see her soon sometime. She's always very happy to see everybody. She gets very jumpy zoomies when she gets to see people she remembers. And one of the things, so usually when we got her, and we kind of never really trained it out of her, unfortunately, is that she kind of barks at everybody. She's quite frankly all bark and no bite. She barks at any new people that come to the door. So it's a little bit of a menace, especially since she's part beagle. She has a very loud opinion. But I think the first time that my then boyfriend, now spouse, came to stay with my family for Christmas, I expected her to bark at him. But she immediately just seemed very happy to see him, like she was happy to see everybody else in the family. So I'm not sure it's because he smelled like the family, or she was like, yes, good human. But I thought it was very cute because she did no barky. She was just like, oh, hello, you are old friend. And I think about that sometimes. It's a very sweet moment for me. But yeah, so I went to college, and then I moved across the country to California. So my doggo was there, and I was like, spouse and I, we weren't really able to have a pet for like a year or so while living here. But like I always kind of remarked of like, oh, I like animals. I like cats. I like dogs. I like lizards and snakes. Yeah, no one I've lived with wanted to have a reptile. So my dreams of owning a snake or like a lizard kind of have gone out the window the older I get, and it's kind of sad because I like snakes. I like their little bleps. I think they're very misunderstood, and I think they're quite nice. Maybe not as pets, but I do appreciate them as a animal in our wonderful world. So I don't know how it came up, but partner was like, "Oh, it would be fun to have a dog," because he had a dog when he was younger, and I guess in Poland they don't particularly treat their animals the same way Americans do. But it seems like he loves that dog, and she passed away when he was in college. So both of us kind of are petless. And I was like, I would love a dog, but I don't think we could take care of one. Because like I was also like, I kind of prefer larger breeds. I mean, corgis are pretty cute, but like I like big fluffy doggies, but those are also working dogs, so I can't really have those either. And also, I think my apartment has like a 30-pound limit or something on dogs, so I can't really get anything big. And then spouse at one point was like, no. And then one day I wake up and I look over at his phone and he's looking up dogs. And I was like, what you doing? And he's like, nothing. So like, a lot of my friends that I stayed in contact with from college have cats now. So two of my closest friends, including Noodle Cat does things. Noodle Cat does things and her partner have two cats. And I've spent time with those cats. Those cats are very cute. But they have big zoomies and they ran over my face. I mean that very literally. They ran over my head when I was staying over at Noodle Cat's house or apartment place. I stayed at their place. I've had relatives that have cats. Another one of my friends also has cats. A lot of my friends after college just kind of got cats, essentially. And they were like, oh, you should get a cat and stuff. And I was like, yeah, your cats are very cute. And like, they seem to really appreciate it. I'm like, the more and more I learn about cats, I'm like, they're kind of my speed. They're my speed. So that's some context. So, yeah, so spouse was looking up dogs. And then I think at some point he realized, no, we cannot handle a dog at this moment in time. Maybe not ever. The dogs are definitely, as much as I would love a dog, I don't know if I could make one happy, and that's what stops me from wanting to get a dog. Or sorry, not wanting to get a dog. I want to get a dog. I just don't feel like I should get a dog. And that's actually how I feel about a lot of pets. Like, if I really think about it carefully, like, I'm not sure I could take care of a snake or a reptile because I don't know enough about them. To like know when they're sick or something. And I again, like with my hamster, I'm like, I don't want to give them a bad life. I want them to have a good life. And if I don't know how to give them a good life, should I be an owner of that pet? That's kind of like one of those growing up things I've learned of like, not all pets are meant for your lifestyle. Like it's kind of obvious when if you live in an apartment and you have like a husky, like you're gonna need to walk that thing like 5 miles a day at least. And if you like go to work for like 8 hours a day and then come back, you don't really have that luxury unless you're like super athletic. And if you don't do that, your dog is gonna go stir crazy and absolutely tear up your entire apartment. But like I think there's a little bit more nuance with like other pets. So like I guess for instance, so Jaden Animations, if you know that YouTuber / VTuber now, she got a bird. I can't remember what Ari is. It's called Ari Bird. And I was like, that's a very cute bird. And I'm like, I kind of want a bird after hearing about Jaden's experience with bird. But then like you kind of look into it and you're like, oh, bird can live so much longer than you would expect. And they also need a lot of attention. And frankly, the more I read into them, the more it sounded like they're very much suited for people who live or like work from home and are basically home 90% of the time. And like, if you're working a 9 to 5 and like with my hour one-way commute, bird, not that great. So like, birds are very cute. I think it's very sweet to see them like online doing things, like people getting really close to their birds. But I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that. And yeah, so that's kind of the thought process I have about a lot of pets. It's like I would love to have that relationship with an animal, but there's not a lot of pets like that suit my need. But cats kind of do. So I think I was kind of floating the idea of cats to spouse, because I was like, my friends are talking about it. They seem like they would match our current lifestyle. So after he looked up the fact that we can't really get dogs, I found this cat adoption center, and I was like, well, I think this was sometime last year, around the same time actually. We were about to go off on our honeymoon in like May, I believe. But I really wanted to see kitties, so I nagged him into letting us go see kitties, and my spouse has never really had any pets like aside from dogs. So like all the cats he's interacted with were feral. It's just, I think, very common where he was, because I guess population control isn't something that some areas really focus their attention on. It's just kind of cats just be cats kind of thing. So we're not gonna pass judgment there. So we go there, and like I've actually had some bad experiences with cats. I've been scratched by 2 or 3 cats, and I gotten bitten once. All the times were my fault. It's because I never really understood cats until I got older. So like I was kind of hesitant of like cats scratching or biting me, but like we met some really cute kitties in that first round, and like the kitties were like, there was one named Sticky, and like he was sleeping, and then we were like, oh, hello Sticky, and we kind of pet him, and then he comes out of his little sleepy hidey hole corner cubby thing, and he just walks into my lap and starts purring and is like, please human, I would like pets. It's the cutest little thing. He got adopted before we could adopt him, and I was like, that's so sad. So I kept looking at cats at this cat shelter, and there was this really cute one. He had blue eyes, and he was kind of like silvery, and I love blue eyes. I think they're so cute on animals, and I mean, on humans, they're very beautiful. I think that's a little opinion of mine. And I would love, this is gonna sound a little weird, but I would, for the longest time, it's just an aesthetic thing. So this is a very like low tier on wants, but like I've kind of always wanted kids with blue eyes. Genetically, that's impossible because I am Asian, and everybody in my immediate family is Asian, so the chance of me having a kid with blue eyes is like 0. So I was like, you know what? I'll vicariously have a child with blue eyes through this cat. But the cat, he had FIV. And his husband and I agreed that we would get like a adult cat with no issues, because like as much as, these like elderly cats or cats with medical issues need to be adopted out, I really don't think first-time cat owners are the best. It would be very overwhelming, especially if we're gone for most of the time. We wouldn't be able to like monitor them and make sure they're safe. And there was like another cat, I think, there that the poor little baby, I think he got like an ear infection or something, but like he couldn't quite see well. He kind of wasn't all there, if we're being frank. And like he he had this tendency, like, I think he tilts his head one way because he got an ear infection. So, like, he's not quite all balanced, let's say. And we live in a loft, so we were just like, we can't take this cat. He will hurt himself. We're not going to be responsible for that. So, like, you know, there's kind of a few times we've gone and we've seen different cats and, like, seen different temperaments and stuff. And, like, generally speaking, I think my husband really, really wanted a cat that was, like, a lap cat. And I was like, you know, honey, like, not all cats are going to be like that immediately. Like, you got to let them warm up and stuff. So we go on our honeymoon, we have a nice time, and then, like, a couple of weeks after that, we're like, we're going to get cat. So this cat shelter, I've actually never seen a cat shelter with such a fast turnaround on their animals. Like, typically their cats do not stay around for very long. They get adopted out pretty quickly, or it's possible they also give them to other shelters to see if, like, other areas, maybe there's someone there that would adopt. But, like, cats go fast, so we wanted to get a cat before kitten season because, like I said before, we weren't interested in a kitten. I don't have the time to take care of a kitten. I'm gonna say that outright. I'm also aware a lot of people want kittens at first and then, like, realize they don't like the cat later, and I think that's very mean. So I'm like, I want an adult cat. I don't want to deal with the terrible teens because that was the age of which my Noodle cats when I first met them, and I don't want a cat running over my face. I'm not gonna lie, that was a very big reason why I did not want, like, a kitten or, like, a teenage cat. So we go there, and they don't really have a lot of cats. There wasn't really any that we kind of quite tickled our fancy, so we kind of looked at older cats, but there was one that we're like, oh, you know, she's a little white cat. She seemed very shy and, like, kind of hid in this little cubby. Didn't really want to interact with other cats or, like, humans, but, like, after a while she kind of would, like, let you sniff you and, like, kind of let you gently pet her. And then we kind of sat down. It's like, look, there's no other cats here. We can either wait until after kitten season, or we could just get this little white cat. And, you know, she seems very shy right now, and, like, on her medical reports, she's considered what we call a fearful cat. So there's, like, a lot of, it's like, I think they put that on as a tagging of, like, you know, she's not going to interact with you immediately. It's going to take a lot more time to socialize her to you. And I was like, you know, honey, are you willing to put in the work for this cat? Because I am. And she might not be, like, that lap cat that you're expecting. And he's like, yeah. So we get the documents. Her name at the shelter was Blanche. She came into the shelter, like, they were literally dropped off in front of the shelter. She was dropped off the shelter with her sister and her mom. So they named them off. They named them after the Golden Girls. I'm not cultured enough to know that, but the ladies at the shelter were really excited when we adopted her out because they're like, oh, the last of the Golden Girls, Blanche is getting adopted. And I'm fairly certain at some point my husband and I, we actually did meet her sibling and her mom, and I think they were, like, far more interested in, like, getting pets and more interacting, whereas Blanche was very much not interested in that. So I'm suspecting that's why she was the last of them to get adopted. So she also had a little cut. So usually with feral cat colonies, you can't really acclimate them to humans. So usually you just do a catch and release. So they will catch them and spay and neuter and then release them back into the colony. So they can't make more kitties, but they can live out a happy cat life. So usually the way they do this is when they spay and neuter, they will cut off the tip of one of their ears so they're easily identifiable. And Blanche had that. So, and I think she actually came in with that. So it seems like she was kind of like might have been like a feral cat at one point at the very least. I don't know. I don't believe the shelter did that. Looking at her medical report, but she was in like a foster home for a while before being put back into the adoption center. So we get all the paperwork filled out, yada yada. We have everything, and then we put her in the cat care, which the nice lady at the adoption center did that for us because I have never picked up a cat. I am terrified of picking up a cat because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get scratched. I don't like it. So my poor cat, Blanche, she got real scared. She's like, I don't want to be put there. So I guess there's kind of a few responses from a cat. There's fight, flight, and like freeze. So interestingly enough, my cat basically only does flight and freeze. She very rarely will hiss at us, or I don't think she's ever bit one of us on purpose. So eventually this nice lady gets her in after my cat's like, absolutely not, please do not put me in there. So we get her in the car, and then one of the adoption center ladies is like, oh, by the way, when they're stressed out, they might defecate on themselves, as I am sitting in the car with the cat on my lap. I was like, thanks for letting me know that after I adopted the cat and it was in my lap. So we get her to the apartment. We settle her into we have a second bathroom. So we just let that in as like her acclimating room. So like for a few weeks, she's just kind of in the bathroom, just getting used to us. So I don't know how other people's cats have been, but like she essentially stayed in her crate for like the first week or so. We like try to hand feed her so she could get more used to us. We played like nice soothing music, and eventually we let her out into the main area of our apartment. She was still very skittish. For the longest time we had a cat tree and she would only hide on the bottom of it. Now she sits on the top like a little queen, surveying her land. And she's very sweet. She quite likes pets. She does very big purrs. Very happy to see us every time we come home. But it's been like a year, 2 years, maybe like a year at this point, and it's taken a lot of work. Before she wouldn't really like us petting her. She's still kind of scared of us when we like walk nearby to her. For a while I think she was scared of my spouse because he's very tall. So for a while she did not like tall people. And for a while I was actually scared she wouldn't like new people because it took her a while to warm up to us. But we've had a few friends come over, and then she's kind of gotten used to them, and she likes pets from them. It's very nice. And more recently we've been training her to like sit on our lap and stuff, and now whenever I sleep on the couch she takes a nap with me. She still doesn't like being picked up. She also doesn't really like it when we clip her nails, but it has to be done. She's gotten used to that a little bit. She's gotten good as well. We leave her in the bathroom, our second bathroom, at night because there's a lot of cables and plants around our apartment, and she has decided she will try to eat every plant, and not every plant is edible to cats. But she's a very sweet baby. When we went off to holiday in Poland, we had some friends cat sitter, and when we came back, it took her like you could see the little calculations in her little cat brain go on, where she kind of just meowed and looked at us in confusion of like, is that, oh my goodness, my humans are back. And then she started meowing and like, crying, and she was kind of vocal before our trip, but now she's like incredibly vocal. Anytime she wants something, she's just gonna keep meowing at you until you figure out what she wants. She has the scariest zoomies. I've never heard a cat make so many weird yowling noises with zoomies. I thought she was dying for the first time she did it. It was just her being a silly cat. What else? For a while when she was getting comfortable with us, I think she kind of wanted to know where we were. So sometimes, like, spouse and I would be up in the loft area of our apartment, just getting ready for bed or doing other things, and it would just be little Hobbs. I also forgot we renamed her from Blanche to Hobbs, because I wanted to name my cat Hobbs after Calvin and Hobbes, and Spouse's only name that he came up with was Mr. or Mrs. Fluffy, which would be great, but she's a short-haired cat, so that kind of doesn't work. Also, we're like 20-something. I'm not naming my cat Mr. or Mrs. Fluffy. We're too old for that. We're too old for that. So we named her Hobbs. Because I like Calvin and Hobbes, and I also couldn't figure out another name for my little fluffy white cat. She was also very pudgy when we first got her. She had like the biggest primordial pouch, and when we sent a picture to my relatives that have had cats before, the only remark we got back was, "Yeah, she kind of looks a little fat." She is no longer a little fat. She still has that little primordial pouch, but it does not wiggle as much when she walks around. Yeah, what else? Oh, yes, sorry, I was telling a story. Yeah, so when we first got Hobbs, or like after a while, when she was getting comfortable with us, she didn't necessarily want to hang out very close to us. It's only recently that she's been like sitting on the couch with us. She'd usually just kind of sit in her cat tree staring at us, or the TV, or the wall for some reason. Don't really know about that. But she still kind of wanted to know where we were. So when we were up in the loft, I guess the object permanence really was not doing, or the lack of object permanence was really confusing her. Because she would like start crying for us. Well, presumably crying for us, because when I would ask like, "Hobbs, what's wrong?" she would just immediately get quiet, and you're like, is our cat crying for us? Like, she's crying because she can't find us? Is it like crying because she wants to know where we are? Or like crying because she's scared she's alone? Like, don't really know what's up with this little kitty. But that, like, every time she, would start yowling like that, I'm like, "Hobbs, what's wrong?" And she immediately quiets down, and she goes sit on the couch. I'm like, well, I guess the cat just really needed to know where her humans were. Yeah, that's little Hobbs. I have a lot more details about Hobbs because I haven't seen my dog in like a year, so, and it's there's very few memories kind of like come up, but like my dog's very silly. She has allergies to grass, if you can believe it. I think that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, is a dog whose ancestor is the wolf, who are trained and honed killers, can be allergic to grass. If that's not the stupidest thing you've ever heard, I don't know what is. My dog, I believe we've pretty much determined she is a lab beagle mix, at least a beagle mix. And if you look up like a chart of dog intelligence, she is a mix of two of the dumber dogs, which would explain a lot, because sometimes she does really dumb things. She has like one of the couches in my parents' house. She really likes to just sit there. And there was this one time, so for a while she would like, after she'd get off of her walk, she would just immediately run to that couch and like hop on it, because she, I guess, had so much energy, and then she would run to get water. There was this one time I watched her. She, I think, slightly miscalculated where the couch was, because instead of jumping onto the couch, she like hit her chest on the couch and kind of just like herself. And that was the first and last time I've seen my dog be incredibly silly. I mean, she's done other silly things. Like, somehow we kind of trained her to sit on rectangular rugs, because that's like, we had these little rugs for her so she would sit there for dinner or like breakfast. But the problem is we have other rectangular rugs in the house for like in front of like the stove, in front of the sink. So sometimes she just sits there, being in the way, begging my mother for treats. Which is kind of dangerous because sometimes you don't see where she is when she's like, oh, hello, I would like treats or pets. And mom is busy and then runs into her. Dog has low, like, I guess, spatial awareness. She's never been socialized. I think it's kind of our fault, but also we were told she doesn't necessarily need to socialize. So my dog does not do well with other dogs. She kind of just barks at them. She gets her hackles up and starts barking, which is kind of weird. I think she's very possessive of us in a way, because, like, you know, dogs can bark at each other to get, like, you know, like, hello kind of thing. Like, it's not necessarily, like, aggressive, but, like, I'm fairly certain my dog sees other dogs as a threat to her humans, which is kind of weird. Again, totally my fault. I didn't train her well enough. I did train her to sit, though. Now she thinks if there's food in anyone's hand and she wants it, she will just sit and expect them to give her the food. That's not how it works, Emmy. So yeah, I have a dog named Emmy, which I guess is my parents' dog at this point. And I have a cat named Hobbs. And I really want them to meet. But I don't think I can get Hobbs on a plane, if I'm being honest. For one, she doesn't let me pick her up. And I don't think I can go through TSA without being able to pick her up. And I can't have my cat loose in an airport. Frankly, she'd probably just hide somewhere where it'd be really hard to get her, but I don't think TSA would be very happy about me trying to go get my cat out from, like, under the scanner or whatever. But yeah, if I had more space, I think I would love to get another cat. But at the same time, like, Hobbs, they kind of recommended she's like a one cat household. I'm not even sure if I could have another pet, if I'm being honest. She didn't do too well. I think when she was in foster, there was another cat she was with, and she didn't do too well with him. And we actually kind of found out after we got her that she was less fearful when there was, like, less noise. So in the animal shelter, I think she was very shy because there was, like, a lot of noise, because there's, like, the shelter was next to a highway, a lot of people going in and out, and there was a lot of other cats. So I don't think she really liked some of the noise, but our apartment is very quiet because my spouse and I are very quiet people. And our apartment is just generally very quiet. They have very good sound insulation, so she's kind of been thriving with the quietness. Yeah, I'll tell a little more stories, but on Twitch right now I have an ad, so I will take this time once again to thank my 2 subscribers. Even though it might only be to avoid these ads, I will still do an ad break. And to my 74 followers. It's been fun. I hope y'all enjoy this content. I guess as a casual, like, thing. Like, either on Twitch or, like, on YouTube, I would like, or, like, in my Discord I share with Noodle and the Black Cat Cafe. I guess linked in the description. I think that's what they say on YouTube. Yeah, let me know how you like this. I'm gonna put out a few videos and kind of see what the vibe is. I still might do these casually. My purpose for these chill sleepy times is just kind of for people to have something to, like, listen to when they want to go to sleep, or, like, just need to relax or something. And I hope I can provide that for you. Yeah, so let me wrap this up really quick, but, like, yeah. What other silly things has my... when we got my dog, she kind of got to this weird thing where she would, like, kind of perch on top of the backseat couch cushion instead of sitting on the couch. So she basically became like a cat. And what was really funny is, as she got older, one of my mom's friends got this small little, I think it was a toy poodle. I call it a sentient carpet because it kind of just, the dog's name is Pip. It's this little black, small doggo. When Pip jumps on you, you barely feel anything. It's so weird. Pip is just this small little carpet. Um, Sometimes my parents take care of Pip when my mom's friend is out of town. And for a while, like Emmy kind of enjoyed having like someone else to hang out with. But I think as the years have gone by, they don't care to hang out with each other, like at all. It's very odd. So I remember there was this one picture my parents sent me of Emmy and Pip, of the two of them sitting on the same couch, but Pip was perched up on one side of the couch's backseat couch cushion, and Emmy was on the other side of the couch on the cushion, and they were completely ignoring each other. It was very funny. I, I guess it's kind of, I assume that all animals, like if they're in the same household, they'll either like fight or like be best friends. Pip and Emmy straight up ignore each other. I think the only time they don't ignore each other is when they both want attention from my mom. It's very odd. I guess Pip is not my animal, but I've heard from my parents that so Pip's, I think, sleeps with my mom's friend in her bed. So at my parents' house, originally they kind of just had Pip sleeping, I think, in the hallway near them, but eventually that kind of just evolved into Pip sleeps with my parents. Or like, at least in the mornings, we'll come up to them and be like, I want attention. Or I think Pip has also bothered my brother. I don't know. He doesn't particularly enjoy the animal in the bed. I think my mom like tolerates it because poor Pip gets so crying and is so small and pathetic, and just you can't deny Pip anything. But Emmy's a big girl. She kind of she's a little, how do we have to discipline her more, especially because she's technically our child. But Pip can get away with anything. What other sleek things? Let's see. I think those are all the things I can think about my dog at the moment. But Hobbs, she's very silly. She meows at you when she wants food. She's really taken to meowing at me when she wants dinner, because I provide. Spouse gives her breakfast, I give her dinner. I think she's gotten very comfortable sleeping, being near me, because I take a lot of naps on the couch, and I guess she figured out that when I take a nap, I don't move, so she can sit between my legs and get warm. I like to think that my cat secretly wants human attention, but she's kind of scared of it. But yeah, she likes little pets. I think one of the things that I really appreciate about Hobbs is so some cats, I think, will immediately like lash out at you if you do something wrong that they don't like. Hobbs is very communicative of like what she likes and doesn't like. So if you pet her in the wrong way, she'll kind of like do the tail flicking thing. And if you keep doing it, she'll either meow at you to move herself, or like gently swat at you. I think a lot of cats will just scratch you. That was my impression. But Hobbs is very gentle about it. She kind of just slaps your hand away, or like gently like kind of makes a biting motion at you, and that's usually your sign to like back off. And she's very polite about it. She's a girl who really knows where she wants pets and when she wants pets. Yeah. So I guess the short TLDR of this is, I love my pets. If you have a nice home and the time and money to get a pet, I highly suggest you adopt. I'm a very much adopt, don't shop kind of person. I recognize there are reasons to have breeds, like hypoallergenic breeds. I also think you should not get a dog, specifically huskies in this case, if you live in California and can't provide for their needs. There's so many. I was looking at this dog shelter, and there were so many huskies. I was so surprised because, like, in Ohio, you could barely find huskies for adoption, and there was like 3 to 5 huskies I saw in this one shelter, and I was like, are Californians this dumb? y'all live in California and you're gonna get a winter dog? Stupid. That's my hot take. Stupid. So yeah. Those are my 3 pets, and I guess if you count trilobites, 4 pets. I think I'll wrap up this stream now. This is about the amount of time I was going to chat. Tell me if you guys enjoyed this kind of content. I don't know what I'll talk about in the future, but I kind of wanted to start off with something kind of nice and chill. Thank you for the ones who joined me live, and for the ones who listen to this VOD, I hope you can get a nice sleep. But assuming you're going to sleep to this, have a good night. Have a good sleep. Sweet dreams, my viewers. I hope this was fun. I guess maybe a cool little question is like, show me your animals. Why don't you join the Black Cat Cafe Discord and you can show your animals off. We have a fun time there. But yeah, I suppose until next time, your Dyna B2B out, and I make sure you hydrate before going to bed and when you first wake up. Treat others with kindness, and I will see y'all the next time. Bye bye.